we have a very special background this week. Literally, it is a fantastic studio space that Miguel Gallardo is in. We're going to bring him in for the first time, and we're going to welcome him to the morning show. So where are you, Miguel?
Hey, man, what's going on? First of all, your timing is impeccable, I must say,
Oh,
because I hopped on and you were right done with Parkey. What a player he was. I'm sure he was disappointed, with all the Atlanta United situation this year. But to be frank with you, I am at the LaGuardia Airport. I just landed. I am here to cover the conference semifinals. I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a great weekend of soccer.
no doubt about it. And so how was the flight, by the way? You have to ask
Oh,
these important
easy
questions.
peasy, man. From Orlando, it's a 2 hour flight. I'm used to it by now. It's a great flight. It's not a big deal at all. So happy to be here. Obviously, that little break in between the FIFA break, it kind of takes a little bit away from the emotional attachment that I have with the playoffs. But hopefully, within the next 24 hours, we can start to fire up the engines and start feeling excited about it. Get away a little bit from the international soccer, which, by the way, the U.S. men's national team. I mean, what a performance they had, huh? Uh, but just really excited to reconnect with the league. Hopefully, with this new calendar thing, this won't be an issue anymore, right? Because I do think that it's a little bit of a negative thing that you have to cut off playoffs in the middle of them so you can focus on international football. So hopefully that won't be the case anymore.
You aren't kidding, brother. That's the way that we're all looking at this kind of thing in the next couple of years. All right. So since you flew in from MCO, you went MCO to LGA. I
Yep.
have to ask, my first question has to do with the purple team, as we refer to it here from our Atlanta base. The off-season roster decisions that were made by the purple team, El Pulpo is no longer, and Robin Johnson is being looked at. They're having separate conversations in the hermetically sealed conference room about a new
Sure.
contract. What did you think about the off-season moves from the purple team?
Yeah, look, it was really interesting. Pedro Ellis has been here for what 5 years, and he's been very successful, relatively speaking. When I say relatively speaking, I say that because the goal of this club is to win a championship, right? They've invested big, and I know that when you compare it to the LAFCs, the Vancouvers, the Atlantas, the Inter Miami, the investment is not quite as big, but they truly felt like this year was the year to really do something special. Um, and unfortunately, they fell short with, I would argue, the best roster that they've ever had. Pedro was probably one of the players that left a little bit to be desired. Um, Throughout his 6 years, it's been a roller coaster with him because he's turned in incredible performances, but also he's turned in some performances that leave you scratching your head of somebody who's played at the international level, who was the starter for his Peruvian national team. To say that I'm shocked, I don't know. I don't know that I would say that. And also, you have to think that there's a new man at the top of the whole thing, which is Ricardo Moreira. Luis Musi is not there anymore. And Ricardo Moreira he wants to build his team. And I know there's a strong foundation, obviously, continuation of Oscar Pareja, which is to me the biggest thing. But GMs, they want to start their legacy. They want to put make an impact on a team. And sometimes when that happens, it's some of the big names that are changed because that's what's going to make the biggest impact. So I'm not shocked. I think that Pedro was a phenomenal goalkeeper, but I think that there's a lot of good options out there. I'm sure that there's a plan behind the decision. I'm curious to see what that's going to be like. And then with Robin Janssen, remember he battled with injuries this year. Um, to me, he's one of the top defenders in the league. This year, he didn't play as such just because of those injuries,
Mhm.
but he's still a very valuable player, and that's why there are some ongoing negotiations. But you know what this sport is like. You have a great year, the next year they bump you up. You have a year that's not as good as it can be, and then they try to renegotiate with you because that's just the nature of the beast. But I know that he's very valued. He's not just a captain, but a phenomenal defender. I'm interested to see what that situation is going to turn out like.
Yeah, and you mentioned the departure of Luis Muzi, and you now have a new GM, CSO, TD, DT,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of times where they want to bring in their own dude. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to make my stamp. I want to bring in my own dude. But you have an established individual there, Oscar Pareja. But at times, and with your playing history and your knowledge there in Central Florida, this is why I ask it. I ask you, since you're there on the ground with it. it seemed like there were times in years past where Oscar would coach to a point, both in the table and in the schedule. And then
Sure.
it'd be like, okay, we're in the playoffs, we're safe, everything's good. And then you kind of have the downswing of the bell curve and you hit the playoffs and you end up with a clunker. And it seemed like, okay, we're in, slow fade, and then you get bumped. Then
Right.
a couple of years ago, he went against that type and tried to maintain it as best he could. And that was the
Yeah.
strongest and the deepest run I think that the purple team had in the postseason. Last season, I think we went back to that where you got to a point and then it's like, and then,
Yeah.
you get bumped. I mean, how big a leash do you think Oscar has coming into 26?
Yeah, and listen, that's a great analysis, right? Oscar Pareja was known for the Papi special in years back. He was known for scoring a goal, sitting back, and trying to see how to win. Over the last couple of years, I've seen a massive evolution in his style, being very aggressive. I remember last year, his substitutions were offensive, regardless of the score. You're winning 1-0, 2-0, and you would sub in attacking players. And, I started to see an evolution, but it brings me back to a conversation that I personally have with him. We were actually playing together in a 7-a-side indoor soccer league during the break. And
Uh-oh.
listen, I was brave enough and I asked, it's like, Coach, tell me why. And I said some of the things that you say. And he said to me that coaches can only play the style or the strategy based on the players that they have. And when he said that, fast forward 2 years, he proved it to be true, because when he had attacking pieces, when he had players that can come in and change the game, whether if it was losing or winning, the subs were always offensive and he was always on the front foot. Now, I say that to say that this year, the complexities of of the league. It's so long. The weather, the travel, the international breaks, it's just so complex. And it's so difficult to time. It's like the market, right? It's so difficult to time the dip, but you're going to have a dip. You know that you're going to have a high moment during the league, and you just don't know when that's going to be. Preferably, you want it towards the end. And I just think that things didn't work out in his favor when it comes to the team finishing out the strongest way possible. I think the Muriel situation was big. Muriel was phenomenal for 4 games, and then 2 games he would disappear, and then he'd be a sub, and he would come in, change the game. He was very much a roller coaster of emotions. And to me, when you have a designated player that you cannot guarantee the output, forget about the productivity. I'm talking about what you're going to get from him in terms of the controllables, how much you're going to run, how much you're going to press, right? The energy that you're going to put into the game. I don't know that they were able to guarantee that with Muriel. And then obviously Duncan McGuire, with the situation of him going to Blackburn and then not working out. Then he comes back, he's injured. I just don't think that they had enough pieces to be able to withstand the dip. And towards the end of the season, I think for me, they lost the playoffs, or at least I hope I lost a little bit of hope when they lost on decision day versus Toronto. And I knew it wouldn't be an easy game because Toronto finished strong. They were undefeated like 5 games before that decision day, and they were a team that's being rebuilt with Georgi Mihailovic. So I knew if they lose that game and have to play the play-in, I don't give them a lot of hope. And sadly, that's what ended up happening. But again, I don't know that the coaches can't control when the team is on a high and when it's on a low. And unfortunately for Oscar Pareja in Orlando City, with one of the best rosters that they've ever had, despite some of the injuries at key moments, they fell short and they finished the season uh, in a low point, which translated into the frustrations and them being disqualified.
Miguel Gallardo, Apple TV, waiting for his luggage at LaGuardia here. Hang on. Hour. I don't. Am I far off? Are you waiting for your luggage? What the? Are you?
I see my luggage like a little like in a carousel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just going around and round and round. That's okay. No one's gonna take it, man.
Okay. Just check. I just checked it. I just wanted to make sure that you're in a safe luggage zone before you head to the studios this
No
weekend.
one's gonna take my oversized suits.
Okay. Dude, look. I'm right there with you. I make sure that I have the ugliest colored suitcase ever. So that would it's got to be like something pastelish or purple or pink or something. So I know no one's going to take it. That they don't want to be caught with that kind of a thing. So it's easy
Right.
in the carousel. we're down to the final eight,
Yeah.
and when you look at the seedings in the East and the West, it's fairly chalky. That it's top seeds all the way through. Which of the surviving teams was the one that was the biggest surprise for you getting to
Yeah.
this point? They might have been on the ropes, but they made it through. And which one was the biggest disappointment, even though they did advance?
I'll answer your question with the same matchup. I think the biggest surprise for me was Minnesota United. And even though they were higher seeded than Seattle Sounders, I felt Seattle Sounders came in with a strong roster. All their players were healthy. I felt like they were coming in at a really good moment. And Minnesota United was coming in with some key injuries, without a striker, and with a style of play that if you concede a goal, it's difficult to climb back. And that's the challenge with teams that play so defensive when it comes to the flow of the game, because when they have to go find the goal in this format, that's where the challenge becomes more difficult. And I was shocked, I was surprised that Seattle Sounders didn't take that series, because I think during the game they were a better team that just made mistakes, obviously folded during the PKs. And to me, that was the biggest surprise. Is Minnesota making it through? And the biggest disappointment was Seattle. Was I surprised that NYCFC made it to the next stage? No, I think that was, for me, that was my dark horse. They were coming in very strong with Alonso Martinez scoring goals, with Fernandez Marcao settling into the league really well, with Hack in the middle of the field playing center back as well, doing a really nice job. Maxi Morales, vintage Maxi Morales, and a couple of other interesting pieces. So I wasn't shocked about them. Now they're going to be in a really challenging situation because Alonso Martinez is out, Andres Perea is also out, and they have a couple of other players that are not going to be available. So again, Minnesota, biggest surprise. I wouldn't say it's a massive shock, but it is. If I had to pick who surprised me, is them, and biggest disappointment would have to be Seattle.
All right, so now we're looking at things. We'll start in the East. You mentioned NYCFC and the road that they've got to take going up against Bradley Carnell. So let me go to the other matchup with Messi and friends going to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
When with this particular matchup, it's we call them the Gulf Stream Galacticos. It is that group with Messi and friends going into Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a dog on the
Yep.
juice boxes in this one. Not a shock either, but I think a lot of folks are saying Cincinnati's going to go as Evander goes, and we know what Messi and friends bring to the table.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. I do think that Cincinnati has more dogs. I think Cincinnati has more options, and they don't necessarily depend on Evander to create chances or to be dangerous. I also think they have a little bit of a better defensive structure depending on who's available. By the way,
Yeah.
not by much, not by much, and I say that because obviously, Miazga, I don't know that he'll be available. Robinson's is a terrific defender. Haglund, I mean, who the hell would have thought that Haglund would be in a championship caliber team at this stage of his career?
Yeah.
The question I have, what's going to happen to on the other side, right? Is it Hadebe? To me, I don't know that I trust that guy in a do or die moment. Is it Alvis Powell? Obviously, he's proven in the last few games that he's probably not ready mentally for the challenge, although he could surprise you. He's an MLS veteran. I know that Echenique was injured when he played with Venezuela. So what are they going to do there? Do they put Orellano, back on the lineup? And then if that's the case, then you need a stronger defensive structure because these dudes love to get forward, including Yuya Kubo, who's played every position except for goalie for Cincinnati, right? So I do think that attacking wise with Brenner, with Evander, with Denke, with Bucha, with that guy in the middle of the field, Giddy, fantastic spine. Um, but Inter Miami, listen, I just don't know how you can bet against Inter Miami. I just don't know because I would say if those three guys, if those two guys, if that one guy is on their day, who can stop them? No one can. And I'd actually argue that defensively, Miami's been a ton better than they were last year. And by the way, you say I said a ton better. The bar was not necessarily high.
No.
The bar was not necessarily high, but when I looked at and I listen, I hate throwing this word out there. When you look at their XG, oh my god, I should quit.
That's a dollar in the jar, dude. That's a,
When you look at their XG against, it's actually better than most teams that are in playoffs right now. So, I just hate myself for saying that, but it is what it is, man. Listen, I think they're better defensively, and they have a guy that he can just turn on a switch and it's unstoppable.
yeah. This is we don't necessarily want to do math on this show, especially in the morning. So when you mention things like XG and XA and things like that, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to me, that's like Scrabble points. It's fine. You put it over
Hey,
there.
I am so sorry that I said that. Okay,
Like,
never again.
it's a dollar. It's a dollar in the jar. Miguel
Man.
Gallardo.
Who am I becoming? Who is this guy?
It's you haven't even put on the suit and the makeup yet, and you're dropping like XG on us before you head in for
Oh, that's
MLB
so sad.
on the weekend. All right, Western Conference. Before you get
Yeah,
your luggage, before it gets hijacked from you.
yeah.
You mentioned Minnesota. Yes, we know they play like the ball's got cooties. They don't want to touch it
Yep.
until you make a mistake, and then they're going to score. San Diego is worse at home than they are on the road. They're
Yeah.
also a first-year team. Are they intimidated by this situation? Are they YOLO because they're in this
Yeah.
situation? Think about the 1-4.
Yeah, listen, it's easy for us to say, hey, listen, everything is honey. They're playing with house money, but that's not them. I don't know that they have that mentality. They have a different mentality. They look like they're hungry. They look like, even though they're a new team, they have a lot of players who have been involved in do or die situations. Some of the guys that came from the foundation or the organization that they have in Europe, and other players that have MLS experience. They have Chucky Lozano. Will he play? Did he come out? I think he came out injured for Mexico. Is he in the doghouse with Mikey Varas? I don't know, but I don't. I don't worry about this San Diego team because of their inexperience in MLS. I worry about this San Diego team because they're playing a team that their style of play is gonna be like a ring in a finger. Like it's just gonna be. It's like, yeah, we want them. We don't want anyone else. We want San Diego because there's just no team in Major League Soccer that loves the ball more than they do, that are risky with it, even playing rondos inside their 18-yard box, which is wild. But at the same time, I love and I appreciate and I wish more teams played that way. But Minnesota has to be very, very careful because you don't want to give them the ball too much because they will just grow in confidence. And they have game changers. They'll find the pockets, they'll find the spaces. And then once San Diego scores a goal, for Minnesota it becomes difficult. I say that knowing that Seattle completely blew it, but I think that this is a good matchup for Minnesota. I'm not worried about San Diego's mentality. I'm just worried about just the style of both teams.
Then the marquee, the 2-3, Vancouver and LAFC.
Ah,
BC Place, if they could have sold another 20,000, they would have done.
it's so juicy. Like that's so juicy. And this next thing, I don't know what this conference thing is gonna change to. I don't know what the standings or whatever is gonna look like. The player format is gonna look like over the next couple of years.
Mhm.
But what I can tell you is that, oh man, isn't this like this is an MLS Cup
Mhm.
final, and it's unfortunate that they're finding themselves in a semifinals of the conference because God, this match is so juicy. And I listen, I'm not a gambling man,
Mm-mm.
but if I were, this would be a tough one.
Ain't
This would be
touching
so
it.
tough.
Ain't touching this one with juice boxes at all. And let me check real quick before you get out of here. Let me check the juice boxes on this one and see. Like I said, I ain't touching it, and there's no
No,
chance I ever would because I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this one
that's
because
right.
of how chaotic it's going to be.
Yeah.
Friday, yeah, I mean, literally Saturday night football, and the home side is a plus 112. 90-minute draws a plus 252, and LAFC is a plus 212, a decided underdog on the road heading to BC Place.
Like, in what world do we live in that LAFC with Buanga and Son are underdogs? Isn't that crazy? But that's how tight this game is gonna be. And if I had to, well, listen, I'm not even gonna go there.
Mm.
I would give LAFC a slight edge, slight edge. And the reason why is because I don't know what Vancouver's defense is going to look like.
Yep. Oh, right at the end of the conversation, we lose the video signal. He's in LaGuardia Airport, by the way. And
What is
there we go.
Son up against? Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? I don't know that there's any defender in the league that can stop Son or Buang in a 1v1.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a hot crowd. All right. As you get your luggage, cut the promo for me. What are you up to this weekend on Apple? Oh, he got coffee. He got coffee. Look at that. He got coffee and he's ready to go. Hit the no, you're good. You're here. Oh, so come back in. All right. So let's see. Miguel, I think somebody tried to call his phone because you could tell he was dialed up on the phone, and I think somebody tried to call him, and that's what knocked him out. As he had his coffee in one hand and he had the device in the other hand. So that was where we were. So I think that's what happened. I think somebody tried to call Miguel Gallardo while he was on with us. And so you saw him had his coffee in one hand, the device in the other. So of course, right at the end of the conversation, he was going with the plus 212 when it came to LAFC going up against Vancouver Whitecaps. So let's go through the juice boxes one more time. We'll see if Miguel can reconnect. Otherwise, we'll let him get his luggage and we'll let him go to the studio space for everything on the Spanish language side for Apple TV on the weekend. So juice boxes, once again,